September 10th, 2018, I was fired from American Gods. There will be no more Mr. Nancy. Don't let these motherfuckers tell you they love Mr. Nancy. They don't. I'm not going to name names, but the new season 3 showrunner is Connecticut born and Yale educated, so he's very smart. And he thinks that Mr. Nancy's angry, get shit done is the wrong message for black America. That's right. This white man sits in that decision-making chair, and I'm sure he has many black BFFs who are his advisors and made it clear to him that if they did not get rid of that angry god, Mr. Nancy, he'd start a Denmark VC uprising in this country. I mean, what else could it be? To the wonderful Neil Gaiman, thank you for allowing me to play this role, for writing this wonderful book, for opening the door for me to become a writer-producer on season 2 of American Gods. Thank you, sir. To the magnificent Brian Fuller and the incredible Michael Green, thank you for creating this series and for allowing me also to become Mr. Nancy. I hope the fans enjoyed it because really this is about you. I hope you loved it as much as I loved doing it. And, we see each other again real.
Okay, so you just heard that right there, and that was from actor Orlando Jones, and he was on the hit show American Gods that came on Starz, or still comes on Starz. I don't know if it's going to thrive after this recent bit of news, but when I found this out, I'm not even going to lie, I was a bit shocked and disappointed because I watched that show. I remember when the show first came on and I saw him on it, I was like, oh, that's Orlando Jones. I said, it's good to see him still working. Orlando Jones has had a thriving career acting wise, whether it be in movies or television. I remember one of the last television shows that I saw him in before he got on American Gods was this show called Sleepy Hollow that came on Fox. And his character ended up getting removed off of there. He was like one of 2 or 3 black characters on the show. And one thing I liked about that show is they didn't mistreat the black characters on it. They didn't make them, not one of them, a stereotype. That's one thing I did appreciate about that show. Of course, everybody remembers when he was in Drumline. I think every black person knows about that. And other films and things that he was a part of. But one thing that I can say about him playing Mr. Nancy or Anansi, the God character in American Gods, this was one of his most, I would say, animated character, one of the most animated characters he's ever played. Not saying that he was one note with the other characters, but I can tell with this character, he really loved it because he dove deep into method acting. Like I've always told people, I really love when people are method actors because that's when they really lose themselves in a role. And just hearing him say that he was actually a writer and a co-producer for season 2, which I did not know, is very interesting. And if you remember, if you've watched the show American Gods, you will remember it was a scene in the first season where he gave that speech, which was one of the most iconic speeches on television, when he was talking to the slaves and how they need to uprise and how they compared it to present day. I found out he wrote that entire monologue. That entire monologue that he gave was written by him. It wasn't written by somebody else, and they allowed it to stay into the show. And I was like, oh, I'm shocked that legit shocked me that they actually let something like that stay on the show, and it was on cable television. Now, if it was on regular primetime network, I don't know how far it would have went, but then again, this show wasn't made for primetime network. It was made for cable. But yeah, it's very unfortunate that he is no longer going to be a part of the show. They said that in season 3, they got a new showrunner because they got rid of the other ones. And when you get rid of something, then they bring something in or something new in, then they got to stick with their ideas or whatever. That's the same thing that happened with Underground. And I was mad about that. While Underground was a show that had a slave narrative to it, it was about getting off of the plantation. And then they introduced the Harriet Tubman character, which was miles better than the Harriet that we got in that film, if you want to call it that trash, that dumpster fire. And it was accurately told on television. And then we was all looking forward to season 3. And then all of a sudden, WGN got bought out by Sinclair Broadcasting, which is basically a junior version of Fox News. And then they ended up, canceling Underground. People tried to petition for Netflix to pick up the show, but unfortunately, it did not work. The show, if it was still on, should have been headed into a season 4 probably by now. But anyway, back to Orlando Jones. So you just heard what he had to say. He said that they got some person out of Connecticut who was I guess, an Ivy League graduate or something like that, and how he is coming in with all these brand new ideas and everything like that. And one of them was to get rid of the Mr. Nancy character, or Anansi, which is the character that was made famous by Orlando Jones. Now, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to read this article that's coming from Variety, because one of the things that stood out to me was when he said he was fired because Mr. Nancy is a wrong message for Black America. Now, this is a white guy, a palm-colored male, saying that this black character, this black god, is wrong for America. Now, if you watched how season 2 ended and what Mr. Nancy or Nancy was getting ready to do, they had to cut that immediately before the season 3 came on. See, they don't like imagery like that on television that will start giving black people ideas. They don't like that. But they will let all kinds of debauchery that comes from palm-colored people come on there, and they can go ahead and do whatever. And I won't be surprised if they brought this person in just to get rid of him. But let me go ahead and read it. It says, American Gods actor Orlando Jones, who played fan favorite Mr. Nancy on the Star series, has revealed on a Twitter video that he was fired back in September, and without directly naming him, slammed showrunner Charles Sheik Egley for the move. So he got fired in September, and he's just now letting us know in December. So he's been fired for a while now. In the fiery post, Jones says that new season 3 showrunner is Connecticut born and Yale educated, so he's very smart, and he thinks that Mr. Nancy's angry get shit done is the wrong message for Black America. I'm trying to figure out how getting stuff done is the wrong message, not only for Black America, but for anybody. But you know, when it comes to us, we're not supposed to move. We're supposed to be shiftless. It says, that's right. This white man sits in that decision-making chair, and I'm sure he has many black BFFs that are his advisors, and made it clear to him that if they did not get rid of that angry guy, Mr. Nancy, he'd start a Denmark VC uprising in this country. So they're basically saying that this character, it was going to cause something to happen, which is a huge fear that many palm-colored folks have when it comes to us, because they know what their ancestors did, and the guilt is kicking their ass right now. That's what they're scared of. If there's not anything else that they're scared of outside of genetic annihilation, it's this. A spokesperson for American Gods responded to Jones' claims late Saturday evening. The storylines of American Gods has continually shifted and evolved to reflect the complex mythology of the source material. Mr. Jones's option was not picked up because Mr. Nancy, among other characters, is not featured in the portion of the book we are focusing on within season 3. So, hold on. You're just going to completely... So their reasoning is because they're going in a whole nother direction, which is something they love to always say as well. That's another way to say that you're fired. So you're just going to completely drop the storyline that was leading into, you wasn't even going to continue it. You were just going to drop it, and it was like, okay, you go into season 3. So say if he was still there and people was watching, they were like, where's Mr. Nancy? Like how the season 2 ended. However a season ends, it should go right back, continue where it left off. You don't just leave on a cliffhanger and then do a whole nother season and don't touch on what was left off in the previous season. That's just bad writing. As if people weren't going to pick up on that even if he wasn't fired. Several new characters, many of which have already been announced, will be introduced into Shadow Moon's world that will further contribute to the show's legacy as one of the most diverse series on television. They can keep that BS. We can see through all of that. In a message accompanying the video, he wrote, I know y'all have lots of questions about the firing. As always, I promise to tell you the truth and nothing but. In a follow-up tweet correcting the date of his firing from September 10th, 2018 to the same day in 2019, Jones called out, I'm not going to read that first person's name, Nick Cannon, Heidi Klum, and Mel B, adding that, like they have said, Fremantle is a nightmare. They treated you like a second-class citizen for doing your job. Stay tuned, more to come. Let's see. I'm going to skip that next part because I don't want to read what this person had to say. It says, American Gods has been long beset by issues behind the camera, with original creators and showrunners Brian Fuller and Michael Green being replaced by Jesse Alexander for the series' second season after Fuller and Green clashed with series producer Fremantle over budget and creative direction. Alexander, who was reportedly sidelined during the second season without officially being let go, was replaced yet again by Egley in March when the third season renewal was announced. Fremantle and stars did not immediately respond to Variety's request for comment. So, based on, without having to read this portion about this with this person's name, this Fremantle person apparently has had issues with other people before dealing with the same type of thing. So it seems like the issue comes with him or with this person. It says, Jones also thanked American Gods executive producer and author of source novel Neil Gaiman for allowing me to play this role, for writing this wonderful book, for opening the door for me to become a writer-producer of season 2 of American Gods. Thank you, sir. He also thanked Fuller and Green for creating the series, as well as the fans. Really, this is about you. I hope you loved it as much as I loved doing it. So, as you can see, many people loved the show. Like, there was, I rarely saw any complaints coming from the show. It was almost like the perfect storm. And now, because they had an issue of how his character was written or the lines that were being delivered, they want him gone. They probably wanted him to be some kind of coon or anything like that. They probably saw the way that he was dressed or the way that he was talking, and that's what they was going to get. But he fooled them, dropping gems and knowledge all over the place. Like that one scene, he had people shook. That monologue sent chills through my body. Like, I've never heard something like that before on television, or possibly even on a movie screen. Like others, I was shocked that it even got passed through the execs to even be put on television. And I said, oh, I think I will continue to watch this, especially for his character. But they don't want those type of characters on TV. They want the usual stereotypical, loud, ghetto, always shucking and jiving and all types of BS. That's what they want, not this. But like I said, I will leave the link in the comment section. I will pin it in the comment section below so you can actually see what scene I'm talking about in case you have not seen it. And you will understand why they had to get rid of his character, or why they needed him to go. And I don't even think it just came from that. I think it was also some other scenes that he did with that character that was leading up to the end of season 2 that was supposed to segue into season 3 with whatever it is that they were planning to have his character be involved with and or do. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments, and I'll talk to you in the next one.